The pharmacy smelled like antiseptic and fluorescent fatigue. Dr. Diane Chen did not raise her voice when the pharmacist slid the prescription back across the counter. Didn't let her jaw tighten when he crossed his arms. Pale face settling into something that might have been concern but wasn't. "I can't fill this," he said. Her son stood beside her. 8 years old. Asthma inhaler clutched in his small hand. The empty one, because they'd run out this morning and his chest had been tight ever since. No trembling lip. No tears in her eyes. Just stillness. Heavier than rage. "Why not?" Her voice was physician calm. The tone she used in the ER when someone's heart was stopping and panicked would kill them faster than the disease. The pharmacist, name tag read Derek, glanced at her son. At Marcus, who was trying very hard to breathe quietly. To be good. To not be a problem. "This dosage is aggressive. For a child. It's prescribed by his pulmonologist." "I see that. But I have a professional obligation to question medications that seem what?" Derek's smile tightened. "Unusual. For someone his age. And frankly, there's been a lot of people coming in here, trying to get controlled substances for, it's albuterol. Still, I'd need to verify with the prescribing doctor. Make sure this isn't fraudulent." Diane looked at him. Really looked. She'd seen this before. Different faces. Same script. The assumption that she'd black woman, professional clothes, well spoken, was still somehow suspicious. That her son's legitimate medical need was a scam. "The doctor's information is on the prescription," she said quietly. "Office is closed. It's 6:15. Then call the answering service. That could take hours. My son needs his medication now." Derek leaned against the counter. "Ma'am, I understand you're frustrated, but I have to follow protocol. If you'd like, you can try another pharmacy." The nearest one was 40 minutes away. Marcus's breathing had gotten quieter. Shallower. Diane put her hand on his shoulder. "Steady. Warm." "I'll wait," she said. "Call the service." Derek sighed like she was inconveniencing him. "Fine. But you'll need to step aside. I have other customers." There were no other customers. The pharmacy was empty except for a teenager's stocking shelves in the back. Diane moved to the waiting area. Saturday. Pulled Marcus onto her lap, even though he was getting too big for it, and felt his small ribs expand and contract, each breath a little harder than the last. She checked her watch. Checked her phone. Derek was behind the counter, scrolling on his computer, not calling anyone. 15 minutes passed. "Excuse me," Diane said. "Did you reach the service?" He didn't look up. Still trying. Another 10 minutes. Marcus started coughing. Small, tight sounds. Diane stood. Walked back to the counter. "I need that medication. And I told you. My son is having an asthma attack." Derek finally looked up. Looked at Marcus, then back at her. "He seems fine. He's compensating. If you wait until he's in distress, it'll be too late." "Ma'am, I'm not a doctor." "I am." That stopped him. For a second. Then his expression shifted. Something colder. "Then you should know better than to pressure a pharmacist." Diane's phone buzzed. A text from her chief of staff. Reminder, city council meeting tonight. 7:30. Press will be there. She glanced at the time. 6:47. She could make it. If she left now. If she gave up. But Marcus's breathing was getting worse. "Call the service," she said again. "Now." "Or what?" Derek's voice dropped. "You'll report me?" "Go ahead. I'm protecting patients from people who what?" He didn't finish. Didn't have to. Diane felt it. The weight of every assumption he'd made the moment she walked in. She pulled out her phone. Dialed. "Who are you calling?" Derek asked. She didn't answer. 2 rings. Then, "Mayor's office, this is Kelly." "Telly, it's Diane. I need you to do something for me." Behind the counter, Derek's face had gone very still. 6 hours earlier the morning had started normal. Diane had woken at 5:30, run 4 miles through the city she'd sworn to serve, showered, dressed, and made breakfast while Marcus finished his homework at the kitchen table. Her husband, Jonathan, the actual mayor, though she hated when people called her the mayor's wife, like she wasn't Dr. Diane Chen, chief of emergency medicine at St. Catherine's Hospital, had already left for an early meeting. "Mom," Marcus had said, between bites of oatmeal, "I can't find my inhaler." She checked his backpack. The bathroom. His room. Found it under his bed. Empty. "We'll get a refill after school," she promised. But after school became after her shift, which ran late because a 4-car pileup on the expressway sent 12 people to her ER, 3 critical. By the time she picked Marcus up from his grandmother's house, it was past 6. And his breathing had started to whistle. You okay, baby? I'm fine. But his voice was tight. She'd driven to the nearest pharmacy. The one she'd used before. The one that knew their insurance, their prescriptions, their names. But Derek was new. And Derek had decided, within 30 seconds of seeing her, that she was a problem. Now, standing in the waiting area with her phone pressed to her ear, Diane watched him realize he'd made a mistake. Kelly's voice crackled through the line. What do you need? I'm at Carter's Pharmacy on Lexington. I need the name of the district manager. Now. On it. Everything okay? No. Diane hung up. Looked at Derek. He was pale now. Actually pale. He swallowed. You're the mayor's wife. I'm Dr. Diane Chen, she said quietly. And my son needs his medication. You didn't ask. You assumed. Her phone buzzed. A text from Kelly. District manager is Patricia Holder. Number attached. Want me to call her? Diane typed back. I'll handle it. She dialed. Patricia answered on the first ring. Miss Holder, this is Dr. Diane Chen. I'm at your Lexington Street location, and one of your pharmacists is refusing to fill a legitimate prescription for my 8-year-old son. Silence. Then, I'm sorry, who is this? Dr. Diane Chen. My husband is Mayor Jonathan Chen. But that shouldn't matter. What matters is that your employee has decided, without evidence, that my son's prescription is fraudulent. Let me speak to him. Diane handed her phone to Derek. He took it like it might explode. Hello? Yes, this is Derek. I know. I was just, ma'am. I have a responsibility to verify. His face went red. Then white. Yes. I understand. Yes. Run away. He handed the phone back. Diane raised it to her ear. Dr. Chen, I apologize. He's filling it now. Good. And I'll be reviewing this incident personally. This is unacceptable. Yes, Diane said. It is. She hung up. Derek was already moving, hands shaking slightly as he typed into the computer, printed labels, counted pills. The medication was ready in 4 minutes. He set it on the counter. Wouldn't meet her eyes. No charge, he mumbled. I'll pay. Please. I'll pay. She handed him her card. He processed it in silence. When he gave her the receipt, she took the bag, took Marcus's hand, and walked out without another word. In the car, Marcus used the inhaler immediately. 2 puffs. His breathing eased within seconds. Diane watched him in the rearview mirror, her hands tight on the steering wheel. Mom. His voice was small. Why didn't he want to give me my medicine? She didn't answer right away. How do you explain this to an 8-year-old? How do you tell your son that some people will see his skin before they see his humanity? Sometimes, she said slowly, people make wrong choices. They let fear decide for them instead of facts. Was he scared of me? Her heart cracked. Just a little. No, baby. He was scared of being wrong. And that made him wrong. Marcus thought about this. But you made him fix it. Yes. Because you're the mayor's wife? No. Because I'm your mother. And because I know who we are. She drove. The city council meeting was already underway when she arrived. Jonathan was at the podium, mid-sentence, talking about infrastructure funding. He saw her slip into the back row and his expression shifted. Relief, then concern. She nodded once. I'm fine. He continued. After the meeting, he found her in the hallway outside the chamber. What happened? She told him. All of it. Jonathan's jaw tightened. I'll make a call. I already did. Diane, it's handled. He studied her. Knew better than to push. How's Marcus? Fine now. At Mom's. And you? She leaned against the wall. Closed her eyes. Tired. So tired. Not from the ER shift. Not from the council meeting. From having to fight for basic decency. Again. Always. Jonathan's hand found hers. Warm. Steady. You shouldn't have to do this, he said quietly. But I do. I know. They stood there, in the empty hallway, while staffers packed up folders and turned off lights. Then Diane's phone rang. Unknown number. She answered. Dr. Chen. Dr. Chen, this is Patricia Holder. I wanted to follow up. I've reviewed the security footage from this evening. I've also spoken with Derek extensively. And he's been placed on suspension pending a full investigation. If what I saw is confirmed, he'll be terminated. Diane said nothing. I also want to apologize personally. This is not the standard we hold ourselves to. We serve everyone with dignity and respect, and he failed that fundamentally. Miss Holder, I appreciate that. But this isn't about one pharmacist. It's about a system that allows people like him to make assumptions that endanger patients. I agree. And I'd like to discuss how we can improve our training. Bias awareness. De-escalation. If you're willing, I'd value your input. Diane hesitated. She didn't want to be the diversity consultant. The black woman asked to fix the racism she'd experienced. But she thought about Marcus. About every other black mother who'd walked into that pharmacy. Who'd been dismissed. Who didn't have the title or the husband or the ability to make a phone call that mattered. Send me a proposal, she said. I'll review it. Thank you. Diane hung up. Jonathan was watching her. You're going to do it, aren't you? Work with him. Maybe. You don't have to. I know. She looked at him. Her husband. The man who'd won an election by 3 points. Who worked 18-hour days. Who carried the weight of a city on his shoulders. But if I don't, she said quietly, nothing changes. He kissed her forehead. Come on. Let's go get our son. 3 weeks later, Diane stood in the community room of Carter's Pharmacy corporate headquarters. 23 pharmacists. For district managers. Patricia Holder at the front. And Derek, in the back row, face carefully blank. He hadn't been fired. Diane had asked Patricia not to. Not because she forgave him, but because firing him would have been easy. Comfortable. It would have let everyone else pretend the problem was one bad employee instead of a pattern. Instead, he was required to attend this training. To sit in his discomfort. To learn. Or leave on his own. Diane had agreed to speak for 20 minutes. She stood at the podium now, notes she wouldn't need in front of her. I'm Dr. Diane Chen, she began. Some of you know me as the mayor's wife. But 3 weeks ago, I walked into one of your locations as a mother whose son couldn't breathe. Silence. The pharmacist on duty didn't see a physician. Didn't see an educated woman with a legitimate prescription. He saw a black woman and decided I was suspicious. She let that sit. He's in this room right now. And I want to be clear. I didn't ask him to be fired because this isn't about punishment. It's about recognition. What happened to me happens every day. To people who don't have my credentials. Who don't have my resources. Who can't make a phone call that gets them heard. Patricia was nodding. Some of the pharmacists looked uncomfortable. Good. You have power, Diane continued. You stand between patients and the medications that keep them alive. And when you let bias, conscious or not, guide your decisions, people suffer. She paused, looked at Derek. He was staring at his hands. I'm not here to tell you you're bad people. I'm here to tell you that good intentions aren't enough. You have to do the work. Examine your assumptions. Ask yourself, who do I trust automatically? Who do I doubt? And why? She spoke for 17 more minutes. Gave examples. Shared research. Talked about implicit bias and systemic inequality and the measurable health disparities that killed black patients at higher rates. When she finished, the room was silent. Then Patricia stood. Started clapping. The others joined. Slowly. Then fully. Diane didn't smile. Just nodded once and stepped down. Derek approached her afterward. She'd expected this. Had prepared herself. Dr. Chen. She turned. He looked smaller somehow. Younger. I wanted to apologize. Face to face. Okay. I was wrong. About everything. I told myself I was being careful, but I was scared. And I let that make me see things that weren't there. Diane waited. Your son could have been seriously hurt. Because of me. And I'm sorry. She studied him. Saw something real in his eyes. Shame. Understanding. It wasn't enough. Apologies never were. But it was something. What are you going to do differently? She asked. He blinked. I'm going to check myself. Before I make assumptions. I'm going to ask questions instead of deciding I already know the answer. Good. She started to walk away. Dr. Chen. She paused. Thank you. For not giving up on me. Diane turned back. Looked at him fully. I didn't do it for you, she said quietly. I did it for every patient you'll see after this. Don't waste it. He nodded. She left. That evening, Diane sat on the couch with Marcus curled against her side. Jonathan was in his study, on a call with the governor. The news was on, muted. She wasn't watching. Mom, Marcus said. Did that man learn? The one from the pharmacy. She considered this. I think he's starting to. Good. Marcus yawned. Because I don't want other kids to feel scared like I did. Diane pulled him closer. Kissed the top of his head. Me neither, baby. Her phone buzzed. A text from Patricia. First quarterly report on new training protocols attached. Early data shows significant improvement in patient satisfaction scores, particularly among minority communities. Thank you for pushing us to do better. Diane read it twice. Then she set the phone down and closed her eyes. She thought about the pharmacy, the council meeting, the training session, all the small fights that made up the larger war. She was tired, but she wasn't done. Because Marcus was breathing easy tonight. Because 23 pharmacists had sat through discomfort and maybe, learned something. Because the next black mother who walked into Carter's pharmacy might not have to fight the way she had. It wasn't enough. It was never enough. But it was something. And in a world that asked her to be twice as good for half the recognition, that fought her at every turn, that questioned her credentials and her motives and her son's right to basic care, something was worth protecting. Jonathan emerged from his study, tired-eyed, and sat beside her. "How'd it go?" she asked. "Long. You?" "Same." He looked at Marcus, already half asleep. "He okay?" "He's perfect." They sat in the quiet of their living room, the city humming beyond the windows, and Diane felt the weight of the day settle. Tomorrow there would be more shifts, more fights, more moments where she'd have to prove her worth to people who should have seen it from the beginning. But tonight, her son was safe. Her voice had been heard. And the system, just slightly, just barely, had bent toward justice. It wasn't revenge. It was change. Slow, imperfect, hard won, but real. And as Marcus's breathing deepened into sleep, Diane Chen, physician, mother, the mayor's wife who was so much more than that title, allowed herself a moment of peace. Not because the work was done, but because she knew she had the strength to continue it. Tomorrow would come. There would be more battles. There always were. But tonight, she rested, unbothered, unmoved, exactly as she'd always been.